Thanks for joining me for another reading through the Bible in chronological order. We are in Exodus chapter 39 today through chapter 40 in the Christian Standard Bible. They made specially woven garments for ministry in the sanctuary, and the holy garments for Aaron from the blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Bezalel made the ephod of gold, of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and of finely spun linen. They hammered out thin sheets of gold, and he cut threads from them to interweave with the blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and the fine linen in a skillful design. They made shoulder pieces for attaching it, and it was joined together at its two edges. The artistically woven waistband that was on the ephod was of one piece with the ephod, according to the same workmanship, of gold, of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and of finely spun linen, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Then they mounted the onyx stones, surrounded with gold, filigree settings, engraved with the names of Israel's sons, as a gem cutter engraves a seal. He fastened them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod as memorial stones for the Israelites, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. He also made the embroidered breastpiece with the same workmanship as the ephod of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and a finely spun linen. They made the breastpiece square and folded double, 9 inches long and 9 inches wide. They mounted 4 rows of gemstones on it. The first row was a row of carnelian, topaz, and emerald. The second row, a turquoise, a lapis lazuli, and a diamond. The third row, a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row, a beryl, an onyx, and a jasper. They were surrounded with gold filigree in their settings. The 12 stones corresponded to the names of Israel's stones. Each one was engraved like a seal with one of the names of the 12 tribes. And they made braided chains of pure gold cord for the breastpiece. They also fashioned 2 gold filigree settings and 2 gold rings, and attached the 2 rings to its 2 corners. Then they attached the 2 gold cords to the 2 gold rings on the corners of the breastpiece. They attached the other ends of the 2 cords to the 2 filigree settings, and in this way they attached them to the ephod's shoulder pieces in front. They made 2 other gold rings and put them on the 2 other corners of the breastpiece on the edge that is next to the inner border of the ephod. They made 2 more gold rings and attached them to the bottom of the ephod's 2 shoulder pieces on its front, close to the seam above the ephod's woven waistband. Then they tied the breastpiece from its rings to the rings of the ephod and a cord of blue yarn, so that the breastpiece was above the ephod's waistband and did not come loose from the ephod. They did just as the Lord had commanded Moses. They made the woven robe of the ephod entirely of blue yarn. There was an opening in the center of the robe like that of a body armor, with a collar around the opening so that it would not tear. They made pomegranates of finely spun blue, purple, and scarlet yarn on the lower hem of the robe. They made bells of pure gold and attached the bells between the pomegranates, all around the hem of the robe between the pomegranates. A bell and a pomegranate alternating all around the lower hem of the robe to be worn for ministry. They made it just as the Lord had commanded Moses. They made the tunics of fine woven linen for Aaron and his sons. They made the turban and the ornate headbands of fine linen, the linen undergarments of finely spun linen, and the sash of finely spun linen expertly embroidered with blue, purple, and scarlet yarn. They did just as the Lord had commanded Moses. They made a medallion, the holy diadem, out of pure gold, and wrote on it an inscription like the engraving on a seal, holy to the Lord. They attached a cord of blue yarn in order to mount it on the turban, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. So all the work for the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, was finished. The Israelites did everything just as the Lord had commanded Moses. They brought the tabernacle to Moses, the tent with all its furnishings, its clasps, its supports, its crossbars, and its pillars and bases. The covering of ram skins dyed red, and the covering of fine leather, the curtain for the screen, the ark for the testimony, with its poles and the mercy seat, the table, all its utensils, and the bread of the presence, the pure gold lampstand with its lamps arranged with all of its utensils, as well as the oil for the light, the gold altar, the anointing oil, the fragrance incense, the screen for the entrance to the tent, the bronze altar with its bronze grate, its poles and all its utensils, the basin with its stand, the hangings of the courtyard, its posts and bases, the screen for the gate of the courtyard, its ropes and tent pegs, and all the furnishings for the service in the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, and the specially woven garments for ministering in the sanctuary, the holy garments for the priest Aaron, and the garments for his sons to serve as priests. The Israelites had done all the work according to everything the Lord commanded Moses. Moses inspected all the work they had accomplished. They had done just as the Lord commanded, and then Moses blessed them. Exodus chapter 40. The Lord spoke to Moses, "You are to set up the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, on the first day of the first month. Put the ark of the testimony there, and screen off the ark with a curtain. Then bring in the table, lay out its arrangements, and also bring in the lampstand and set up its lamps. Place the gold altar for incense in front of the ark of the testimony. Put up the screen for the entrance to the tabernacle. Position the altar of burnt offering in front of the entrance to the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, and place the basin beneath the tent of meeting and the altar, between the tent of meeting and the altar, and put water in it. Assemble the surrounding courtyard and hang the screen for the gate of the courtyard. Take the anointing oil and anoint the tabernacle and everything in it, consecrate it along with all its furnishings so that it will be holy. Anoint the altar of burnt offering and all its utensils. Consecrate the altar so that it will be especially holy. Anoint the basin and its stand and consecrate it. Then bring Aaron and his sons to the entrance to the tent of meeting and wash them with water. Clothe Aaron with the holy garments, anoint him, and consecrate him, so that he can serve as a priest. Have his sons come forward and clothe them in tunics. Anoint them just as you anointed their father, so that they may also serve me as priests. Their anointing will serve to inaugurate a permanent priesthood for them throughout their generations." Moses did everything just as the Lord had commanded him. The tabernacle was set up in the first month of the second year on the first day of the month. Moses set up the tabernacle. He laid its bases, positioned its supports, inserted its crossbars, and set up its pillars. Then he spread the tent over the tabernacle and put the covering of the tent on top of it, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Moses took the testimony and placed it in the ark and attached the poles to the ark. He set the mercy seat on top of the ark. He brought the ark into the tabernacle, put up the curtain for the screen, and screened off the ark of the testimony, just as the Lord had commanded him. Excuse me. Moses placed the table in the tent of meeting on the north side of the tabernacle, outside the curtain. He arranged the bread on it before the Lord, just as the Lord had commanded. And he put the lampstand in the tent of meeting opposite the table on the south side of the tabernacle, and set up the lamps before the Lord, just as the Lord had commanded him. Moses installed the gold altar in the tent of meeting in front of the curtain, and burned fragrant incense on it, just as the Lord had commanded him. He put up the screen at the entrance to the tabernacle. He placed the altar of burnt offering at the entrance to the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, and offered the burnt offering and the grain offering on it, just as the Lord had commanded him. He set the basin between the tent of meeting and the altar and put water in it for washing. Moses, Aaron, and his sons washed their hands and feet from it. They washed whenever they came into the tent of meeting and approached the altar, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Next, Moses set up the surrounding courtyard for the tabernacle and the altar and hung a screen for the gate of the courtyard, and so Moses finished the work. The cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Moses was unable to enter the tent of meeting because the cloud rested on it, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. The Israelites set out whenever the cloud was taken up from the tabernacle throughout all the stages of their journey. If the cloud was not taken up, they did not set out until the day it was taken up. And for the cloud of the Lord was over the tabernacle by day, and there was a fire inside the cloud by night, visible to the entire house of Israel throughout all the stages of their journey. So, as we conclude this section within Exodus, showing the completion of the tabernacle, it goes without saying the emphasis is clearly made again and again that everything Moses and the Israelites did was according to what the Lord had commanded Moses. In fact, intentional, I suspect, is that repetition, so that Israel would understand that the commitment that they had in their obedience to God in building the tabernacle should follow within their generation and future generations the same commitment to obedience to the covenant that God had given Moses or given the Israelites through Moses. But yet we'll see, of course, in the course of time in this reading, the unfaithfulness of Israel in different generations. But let that be our encouragement to recognize that God gave those instructions so that Israel would follow them, just as God gave you and me instructions to follow in the path that the Lord has led so that you and I could follow in his steps and follow faithfully just as he has commanded. Thanks for joining me. Join me again for another reading tomorrow as we go through the Bible in chronological order.